Well, the trade deadline is over. The Mets have their roster for the rest of the year, but after Friday's game against the Giants, it seems like nothing's changed. Welcome to the very first episode of MetsShitPod. I'm your host, MetsShitPosting. And first things first, I want to talk about the deadline. Okay? So let's just hop right into it. A few days ago, I should say, the Mets got Gregory Soto from Baltimore. He's on a 1-year, $5.3 million deal. He's 30 years old, former two-time All-Star. You can look at his stats overall, and you won't see anything really special. He's a .2 WAR, 3 losses. I mean, I know wins and losses we don't really care for anymore, but 3.79 ERA, 7.3 hits per 9, not that good, and has 46 strikeouts. Now you look at that overall, and you're like, okay, this guy's washed. He's not that good. I don't know why we traded for him, but you look at his stats against lefty batters. When he faces lefties, they're batting 131. They have a 260 on-base percentage, a 523 OPS, and a 262 slug. For a lefty bullpen reliever, that's great. That's exactly what the Mets needed. They lost A.J. Minter. They lost Danny Young. Brooks Raley is finally back, but he's just got back. Jose Castillo was their lefty for a while. Then it was Dickie Lovelady. I mean, anyone's an upgrade over those two guys. I liked Jose Castillo. I think he was good. He had a few good series, but he was very, 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 very up and down. And I think even though Soto can kind of be a wild card, he loses the zone a lot. He can be very wild and erratic. But when he's on, he's on. You know, we saw against San Francisco, he pitched a 1-2-3 inning. But the next time we saw him, it was against San Diego, and it didn't end so well. The Mets got walked off in that crazy game, which, you know, at that point, don't really blame him. I feel like we were going to lose that game no matter who we threw out there. I think Diaz could have went out there, we would have lost that game. I think Randy Johnson could have went out there, and we were losing that game. That just felt like just like a Mets game to lose. Like, Vientos hits that grand slam. They're up 5-1. We're all celebrating for Mark. We're happy for Mark. And then here comes Frankie bleeping Montas. Here comes Frankie Montas to give up 4 or 5 runs, give him the lead back, and then Brazoban to have a complete meltdown and giving the Padres the lead. We saw some fight from Ronnie at the end, hitting that home run to tie it, but I think whoever you threw out there, they were losing that game. It was just such a Mets game. It was just a Mets game, you know. It's just a Mets game. But let's try to put that loss behind us, and we're going to keep talking about this trade. In the trade for Greg Soto, the Mets gave up Wellington Aracena, the 19th ranked prospect. He's 20 years old. He has a 2.2 ERA, which is pretty good. His career, though, was a 4.41 ERA. Not sure if he's a starter or relief pitcher. I assume he's a relief pitcher. And they gave up Cameron Foster, who's 26 years old and has a 2.84 ERA. I don't know much about either of those guys, which I think is a good thing. I don't think Greg Soto was a guy you gave up a lot for, and I think these guys equate to nothing. Like when you're talking to your buddies about this trade, you're going to say they gave up nothing for him, which they did. They really didn't give up anything. See, this was a very, very, very David Stearns type of deal. The David Stearns that we used to know and love, right? Traded for a guy that was kind of a big name at one time. I mean, Soto was a 2-time All-Star, so at that point in time, he was a pretty big name, I'm sure. You know, we were so used to David Stearns trading for guys like you never heard of. Brazoban, Stanek, Phil Maton. And those guys worked out well for us. I mean, Brazoban last year, and then the playoffs was good. And the beginning of the year, he was amazing. He was lights out, almost an all-star. Stanek was great last year for us. Maton sucked. Hated Maton. But this was a very David Stearns type of move. And it kind of worried me a little bit. I was like, we can't do this again. Right? Like, last year was supposed to be the rebuilding year. Last year was the first stepping stone to this, and then we made the NLCS, and then expectations shot through the roof. So the Mets' window to win the World Series is now. Right? And that's going to be a common theme throughout the rest of this episode when we're going to talk about these trades. But I saw Greg Soto, I was like, okay, we got a lefty. We need a lefty, for sure. I like the move. I think it was a good move, and I think of all the relief pitchers that were available that were lefties, he was probably the best one, and we gave up nothing for him. So That was fine by me. But he is a wild card. He can be very inconsistent. He can lose his zone. He throws hard. I'm pretty sure he tops at 100 something. He throws hard. He's a good pitcher, but he's wild and inconsistent at times. And that's why we got him for so cheap. And that was a very David Stearns type of move. Someone that's probably past their prime, kind of like Frankie Montas and Paul Blackburn. Someone that you weren't thinking of when you heard trade rumors. Someone you weren't expecting. But I think it's a good move nonetheless. You need a lefty bullpen. You can't keep throwing Jose Castillo out there in October, September, and August. I mean, that just couldn't happen. So I think overall, I give this move an A. Bottom line, they got a lefty, and he could be very, very good. He could be lights out at times. But on the flop side, he could be kind of wild. So, that being said, let's move on to, by far, the most controversial trade. The Mets acquired Tyler Rogers from the San Francisco Giants, the submarine pitcher that has been lights out his whole career. I love Tyler Rogers. I think Tyler Rogers was one of the best bullpen arms in the game, period. You don't have to throw 100 plus to be good. And I think that way of pitching, the submarine pitching and the slow curves and the weird movements, has kind of gone the wayside, and it's kind of refreshing in a way to see that. Rogers has been great his whole career. But this year especially, he's been exactly what the Mets needed. The Mets needed a reliable bullpen arm. We've been begging David Stearns to get an elite, high-leverage bullpen arm, and he went out and got one. And everyone's up in arms about these prospects and the guy that we moved. But let me go over Tyler Rogers' stats really quick. He has a 1.6 WAR, a 1.80 ERA. In 50 innings pitched, he's only allowed 4 walks with 38 strikeouts. 4 walks. Think about that. So he doesn't walk a lot of people, and he gets outs. Exactly what a bullpen pitcher does. What he should be doing. Which is not something the Mets have had for a long stretch of the season, with all the injuries and just the regression of this entire bullpen. Brazoban used to be so lights out, and now he's just dog water. Now he's just bad. Stanek can be up and down. Stanek either goes out and strikes out the side, or he lets up 5 doubles and we're losing. I mean, Diaz has been lights out all year, so no complaints about him. Reed Garrett struggled a little bit. I love Reed Garrett. But at times this whole bullpen has struggled. And Tyler Rogers is a veteran guy who's going to come in here, and I don't think he's going to struggle. I really don't. I think that delivery that he has and the pitches that he uses are unmettable. It's a new word I just invented. That I don't think he's going to come here and his stuff's going to get messed up. He's going to feel a lot of pressure. San Francisco is a already pretty big market team. And I just think it's so hard to hit his stuff that wherever you put him on any team, anywhere, anytime, any place, it's not going to affect him. Okay, so here's where the big controversy comes in. The Mets traded Blade Tidwell, Drew Gilbert, and Jose Butto. Now, at first glance, and all over Instagram, and all over Twitter, and everywhere saying the Mets got fleeced. That is a load of crap. That's a load of crap. It is a load of crap. And I'm going to spend probably 10 minutes telling you why it's a load of crap. So, let's start with Blade Tidwell. Just the eye test. Was there anything from Blade Tidwell that you saw that impressed you? That made you feel like he's the guy, or he's a guy, he can be a guy? I mean, I saw nothing special. He got shelled in his debut. He got shelled by the Pirates. He pitched 2 or 3 good innings against the Phillies. But that was it. That was pretty much it. I'm pretty sure, I forget the other games that he started. If he started or pitched in any other games. But that was it. I didn't see anything special. He doesn't have a crazy fastball. He doesn't have a crazy slider. That sweeper, whatever he pitches. I like Blade Tidwell. I think he's a good guy. And I think he could be MLB caliber pitcher, for sure, but not for the Mets. When is he going to fit in? Where is he going to fit in? You have Shawn Mania. You have Kodai Senga. You have David Peterson if you extend him, which they have to. You have Clay Holmes for another 2 years. You have Christian Scott coming back. You have Brandon Sprout. You have Nolan McLean. You have Jonah Tong. And you can also throw Tyler McGill in there, deciding whatever they want to do with him. Where's Blake Tidwell's spot? In the bullpen? I wouldn't be surprised if the Mets re-signed most of their bullpen pieces. I don't think they're going to re-sign Helsley, Rogers, or Soto, any of those guys. But they should re-sign Diaz. They should re-sign Reed Garrett. I wouldn't be surprised if Brooks Raley either retires or they re-sign him. And I don't really think Stanek is going to have a huge market, so I think he might come back. I don't really want Stanek back. But he's a major league bullpen guy. So you look at that, and where's Blake Tidwell going to fit in? Ever. I understand that he's a prospect, and he's the number 10 ranked prospect or whatever he was. But was there anything? Just ask yourself this. Was there anything that you saw from Blake Tidwell that was like, oh my God, we have to keep this guy. He's the future. Right? No. The answer is no. For me, at least, no. And from people that I've asked, it's the same thing. No. So, if you're okay with trading Blake Tidwell for Tyler Rogers straight up, then that's how I look at it. Then you're fine. If you could say, hey, we trade you Blake Tidwell for Tyler Rogers straight up. No, okay, fine. I don't want Blake Tidwell. I'll give him for Rogers right away. Okay. Then look at it that way. That sounds much better. And Tidwell, he's just regressed. In 2022, he had a 1.93 ERA. Amazing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That was great. 2023, it jumped to a 3.57. And in 2024, he had a 4.86. And this year is a 4.10. I know there's a lot of other pitching stats and sabermetrics and all this analytical stuff. But just like looking at the numbers, they've gotten worse. They started really good, and then they dropped, and then they really dropped, and then they've gotten a little bit better. So there hasn't been a steady progression of Blake Tidwell. It's been sporadic. It's been up and down. And that alone makes him not a high-caliber prospect. In my eyes, you want a guy that's going to be consistent, especially in the minor leagues, like going through the leagues. Like a guy like Nolan McLean, for example. He's pitching lights out in Double-A. He got moved to the Triple-A and didn't skip a beat. That alone just shows that he is more ready than Blake Tidwell is. Tidwell has a 4-something ERA in Triple-A. I didn't really look at his Double-A stats, but I'm sure they're all right. But last year in total, he pitched a 4.86. And this year he's pitching a 4.10. Nolan McLean has been up there, and he's already doing 10 times better. So you don't lose McLean, you don't lose Tong, and you don't lose Sprout. Blake Tidwell was expendable. David Stern said before that he doesn't want to bring up a top prospect until they're ready. And then Stern's bringing up Tidwell against the Cardinals and up and down this whole year shows me that he thinks he's expendable. That Tidwell does not have the things that Stearns wants to see that makes him a top prospect for him or worth keeping. So I would say I'm sad to see him go. I'm really not. I could care less about Blake Tidwell. I didn't think he was going to be on the team next year anyways. And we get a guy that we needed. So that's the one part of the deal. The next piece of the trade that everybody was up in arms about was Drew Gilbert. Drew Gilbert. Everyone and their mother was so mad that we gave up Drew Gilbert. And I don't know why. I feel that a lot of times when you get somebody that was in a deal for a big name, you kind of associate that prospect to be good or turn out to be really good. But that's just not the case. We got him in the trade for Justin Verlander. But that doesn't mean that Drew Gilbert's going to be good. Okay? He's 25 years old. And he's most likely going to be in the Rule 5 draft. The Mets weren't going to pull him up this year. They were going to trade for a center fielder, which they did. They had Tyrone Taylor. They had McNeil play outfield, and then Soto and Nimmo are cornerstones. They're not moving. So, again, where is Drew Gilbert going to come in? I know he could be better than Tyrone Taylor. And if he can hit 230, he would be. But when you're in a pennant race at this point, are you going to bank on a rookie center fielder to do good and hit his stride within 2 months? It just seems like a dumb argument to me. But let's look at the stats. Let's look at how the stats speak for themselves. In 2022, Drew Gilbert finished the season with a .313 batting average, a .405 on-base percentage, a .531 slug, and .937 OPS. That's really good. That's a really good season for Drew Gilbert. I can't sit here and say that it was a bad year. That's a great year. Batting .313, on-base .405, the OPS of .937. That's amazing. That's great. So then the next year, in 2023, he batted .289, had a .381 on-base percentage, a .487 slug, and an .868 OPS. So he regressed. A few points lower in batting average, a few points lower in on-base percentage, a few points lower in slugging, and a big drop in OPS. Then in 2024, last year, he had a terrible year. He batted .205. He hit .205 last year. Had an on-base percentage of .313. He slugged .371, and his OPS was .685. He's .685 OPS. And this year he's been doing better, but it's nothing to call home about. A .252 batting average, a .354 on-base percentage, .450 slugging, and an .804 OPS. It's decent, but it's AAA. If it was in the majors, I'd say, okay, that's better than Tyrone Taylor for sure. But in AAA, he's just gotten worse. I mean, better than last year. Anything's better than his last year, but he's expendable. Especially when your top 5 position player prospects all play outfield. Joe Williams is shortstop and outfielder. Carson Bench, he's going to be much better than Drew Gilbert, is an outfielder. Jacob Reimer, outfielder. Ryan Clifford, first base and outfielder. Ryan Clifford is more of a Lucas Duda outfielder, but an outfielder nonetheless. A.J. Ewing is an outfielder. Nick Morabito, who's your 12th ranked prospect, is also an outfielder. So why are we freaking out about a 25-year-old prospect who probably wasn't even going to be on the team next year? Think about like he was on the last year of his contract. He was going to be in the Rule 5 draft. He wasn't going to be a Met next year if they didn't pull him up, which I don't think they were going to. So get rid of him. Get rid of him. I have no problem with giving away Drew Gilbert for Tyler Rogers. For Tyler Rogers, an elite high-leverage arm that everyone has begged Stearns to get. This is not Huascar Balzaran. This is not Phil Maton. This is not Ryan Stanek. It's Tyler Rogers. He is a great lights-out pitcher. When have you seen Tyler Rogers ever do bad? Like watching the Mets, he kills the Mets. I never seen Tyler Rogers blow up against the Mets or any team that I've seen him. He's a 1.8 ERA. And Drew Gilbert is kind of mid. Let's just say it that way. He's kind of mid. Listen to Carson Bench's stats. Carson Bench should either be a starting center fielder next year or should get pulled up somewhere through next year, or if he's not starting by 2027, then there's going to be problems. In Double A, he's batting .387. He has a .482 on base, .671 slug, and a 1.159 OPS. Granted, it's been 24 games. It's only been 24 games. But those stats blow Drew Gilbert's out of the water already. Drew Gilbert never had that kind of production in Double A. He just never has. And in Single A this year for Carson Bench, he hit .302, .417 on-base percentage, a .480 slug, and an .897 OPS in 60 games. Those stats blow away Drew Gilbert. I'm sorry. They're so much better than Drew Gilbert. Carson Bench is a much better prospect than Drew Gilbert. A few days ago, Carson Bench hit 6 home runs in 3 games. That's ridiculous. Drew Gilbert has never done that. I can almost guarantee Drew Gilbert has never done that. So, if you're still being a prospect hugger and holding on to Drew Gilbert for dear life, then I really don't know what to tell you anymore. I really don't know what to tell you. Drew Gilbert is not all that. Plain and simple. Blade Tidwell is not all that. Those two guys were so expendable. Those are your best trading pieces that you can have that aren't your top guys. And they use them. You got rid of them. You saw Blade Tidwell. It didn't show you anything special. You never got to see Drew Gilbert, but look at what he was doing in the minor leagues. It's nothing eye-popping. Carson Bench is eye-popping. Nick Morbido is eye-popping. Joe Williams is your number one ranked prospect. All these guys that can play outfield are just clearing him in every single stat, in every single way. Mm-hmm. Now, the last part of this trade was Jose Butto. We all love Jose Butto. Everyone loves Jose Butto. He was drafted by the Mets. He came up with the Mets. He's a homegrown pitcher. We all love Jose Butto. But Jose Butto was not that good. He underperformed. Again, I liked Jose Butto. I think he did great. And he was very good at times. He was great at some times. Don't get me wrong. Jose Butto was amazing at some times. But he was never consistent. Think of how many games. I can think of 3 off the top of my head that Jose Butto blew the game for us. That he came in and led up. He gave the lead up. And, you know, when you're making a championship push, you have to have reliable guys in your bullpen. Pitching. That's the name of the game. Yes, the offense has problems, but pitching wins games. All right. Let's just compare Jose Butto to Tyler Rogers. Jose Butto, this season, this is all for this season, has a .3 WAR. I understand he was sick for a little bit, but he only missed a few games. Tyler Rogers has a 1.6 WAR. So, Tyler Rogers has a 1.3 higher WAR than Jose Butto. Rogers in 53 games with 50 innings pitched, and Butto has pitched in 35 games and 47.2 innings pitched. Butto has a 3.59 ERA, and Tyler Rogers has a 1.8 ERA. Tyler Rogers almost has half of Jose Butto's ERA. Okay. Tyler Rogers also has a 2.17 ERA plus, which I looked up today, and it accounts like the league average is 100, so anything higher than 100 is like good. So like the higher it is over 100 for ERA plus is the better. Jose Butto's ERA plus was 109. So he's 9 points above the league average. Tyler Rogers is 117 points above the league average. Okay. Butto has 41 strikeouts to Rogers' 38. Okay, he has more strikeouts. But Jose Butto also has 23 walks, and Tyler Rogers has 4. Tyler Rogers, in more games, more innings pitched, has significantly less walks than Jose Butto. 19 less walks than Jose Butto in more games and more innings pitched. We say all the time that when you are a relief pitcher, walks kills. Walks just kill in general. And when you give a team 23 free base runners, as Jose Butto has done, that gives you 23 opportunities to score without swinging the bat. Like, it just opens up the opportunity. You put a guy on base for free. That puts you at a disadvantage. Tyler Rogers has only done that 4 times. Mm-hmm. Tyler Rogers is one of the best pieces that the Mets could have added. And the 3 guys that we gave up were the most expendable. Were they probably the best expendable players we could give them? Yeah. But expendable nonetheless. You gave up a pitcher that we saw nothing special from, who has 3 other pitchers ahead of him, and Brandon Sprout, Noel McLean, and Jonah Tong, who I think we can all agree are going to be better, or are better at least. You gave up a 25-year-old prospect who is probably not going to be on the team next year anyway because he would go into the Rule 5 draft. someone would pick him up, and who's also being outperformed by multiple other prospects. Carson Bench, the big one. And you give up a relief pitcher who's a homegrown guy, which sucks to see him go, but I think him being homegrown is what everyone's upset about and why they moved on from him. If this was a guy that we signed, if this was like Stanek, or if this was whoever, someone that we signed for free agency, it'd be like, okay, whatever. I think there's a sentimental nostalgia factor in giving up Jose Budo. But baseball's a business. It's a business, and he was inconsistent. I loved Budo. I liked Budo. I thought he was a good guy. I thought he was a good pitcher. But when you're in the middle of a pennant race, and you're in the middle of a World Series run, you need to have reliable guys in your bullpen. Elite, high leverage bullpen arms. And that is exactly what we got. We got Tyler Rogers. So, I wish all three of those guys the best of luck. I hope Drew Gilbert succeeds. I hope Blake Tidwell has success. And I hope Jose Budo does good. But for the Mets, they just didn't have a spot. They didn't have a place. And right now, Tyler Rogers has a huge place. Now that that spiel is over, let's talk about the Ryan Helsley trade. A much less controversial trade that I think all Mets fans can agree on. Ryan Helsley, two-time All-Star, 1.2 WAR, 2.92 ERA, and last year was the saves leader in all of baseball. I think 49 saves he had. He throws a 102 fastball and a 90-mile-per-hour slider. That is ridiculous. That's filthy. No one's doubting that. The Mets gave up Jesus Baez, the number 7 overall prospect, Nate Dome, the number 14 overall prospect, and right-handed pitcher Frank Elisott. The two pitchers, Nate Dome and Frank Elisott, don't scare me. I think Nate Dome was a pitcher. I'm 99% sure Dome was a pitcher. But the one guy I can see coming back to bite us is Jesus Baez. And that's for all the trades. I don't see Blake Tidwell come back to bite us. I don't see Drew Gilbert come back to bite us. Jesus Baez could be very good. I think if Jet Williams isn't here, or Carson Bench isn't here, he's your number 1 prospect. But nonetheless, you get Ryan Helsley, a lights-out electric closer, former closer, because Edwin Diaz is still going to be the closer. But you get Ryan Helsley, Hell's Bells, into your bullpen. You pair him up with Tyler Rogers and Diaz. That is disgusting. That back three is disgusting. It's the best in the league. I don't care. I don't care what the Yankees did. I don't care what the Padres did. That is the best in the league. Tyler Rogers is lights out. Ryan Helsley is lights out. And Edwin Diaz is lights out. If the Padres had one more very good name, because right now I think it's just that guy Suarez and Mason Miller, I'd say the Padres have it because I loved Mason Miller. I would have given up so much for Mason Miller. But I am ecstatic with what the Mets did in their bullpen. And I think the Mets had the best 1, 2, 3. And in all of baseball. In all of baseball. I didn't even think Tyler Rogers would be available. You're telling me that Devin Williams, Camilo Doval, David Bednar, and Jake Bird, those guys are better? That's the last night? After the implosion in the Marlins? No. Ryan Helsley came in through shutout innings. Edwin Diaz, unfortunately, gave up the ghost runner, but that's a whole different issue. I don't blame Edwin Diaz for that, to be honest with you. He's been amazing all season. But before I get into the terrible offense, let me talk about Cedric Mullins. And let me conclude Ryan Helsley really quick. Ryan Helsley, great move, A+ move by David Stearns. I did not think in any world would the Mets get Ryan Helsley. I thought he was too expensive. I really did. And David Stearns pulled it off and didn't give up any of the top 5 guys. He didn't give up Jet Williams. He didn't give up Carson Bench. And did not give up Sprout, McClain, or Tong. And that is a W in itself. Okay. Now, Cedric Mullins. Mets got their center fielder. Mets got their new center fielder that will replace Tyrone Taylor. Thank God. Cedric Mullins is a former All-Star and former Silver Slugger. Now, you look at his stats overall this year. They don't jump off the page. I think he's batting about 220. Actually, let me pull up his baseball reference page right now. I believe he's batting around 220. Let's see. Yeah, he's batting 229, has 15 home runs, and a .1 WAR. Nothing crazy. That's nothing to write home about. But better than Tyrone Taylor. You don't lose anything on defense. Cedric Mullins is a great defender. Not as good as Tyrone Taylor, but you need a better bat than Tyrone Taylor. He's an automatic out every time he steps up to the plate. Like, he had a good stretch where I think he was batting 250, and then since then he's just fallen off the face of the earth. He was never that good of an offensive player. He never was. I don't think David Stearns got him for his offense. He got him because he likes defense up the middle. That's why I think Beatty is at second, and I think Acuna hasn't been traded yet because David Stearns likes defense up the middle. So that's short, second, and center field. Cedric Mullins this year against right-handers, he's batting 203, is an on-base percentage of 271, a 416 slug, and a 686 OPS. Not good. Just not good. But against lefties, he's batting 298, has an on-base percentage of 390. He's slugging 476, and has an 866 OPS. So he has reverse splits, which is very interesting, because not a lot of guys in the league have reverse splits. It's not completely uncommon, but for a left-handed batter, left-handed center fielder to be hitting lefties better is just odd. So you could platoon him with Tyrone Taylor. I wouldn't, because Tyrone Taylor is just an automatic out again. Like, you're not getting anything with Tyrone Taylor if you platoon him. It would make no sense, especially if Cedric Mullins is doing better against lefties. And I also think Cedric Mullins can benefit from a change of scenery. The Orioles stink. They're hot garbage. They sold everybody. The Mets are still a contender. As dim as it might seem right now, they are still a contender. After last night, they're a half a game back. They hold the wild card spot. I'm pretty sure the top wild card spot. And, you know, I think Mullins did love Baltimore, but you're coming to a new environment and you're coming to a winning team. I know the Orioles made the playoffs last year, but you're going to a winning team. And it's kind of the same thing why I wanted Luis Robert, because many White Sox players, once they got off the White Sox, have been very good. Andrew Vaughn for the Brewers, he's been like ridiculous on this like crazy tear. He had a grand slam. He's hit like 21 RBIs in like 15 games or something crazy like that. Don't quote me on that, but just like look it up. It's ridiculous. And to get Cedric Mullins, you didn't give up a lot. You gave up Raymond Gomez, who went viral for throwing like 104 a few months ago. But that's pretty much it. Anthony Nunez and Chandler Marsh, all right-hand pitchers. I think Gomez was like the 30th ranked prospect after we traded away Drew Gilbert and Blake Tibble, so he just snuck up there. I don't think Nunez was ranked, and I don't think Chandler Marsh was ranked. So you gave up nobody. You upgrade center field, hitting-wise. You don't lose much defensively. I think Tyrone Taylor is the better defensive player, but I don't think Cedric Mullins, I don't want to say he doesn't even not hurt you, but he brings almost the same level as Tyrone Taylor. So you give up nothing for those guys, and you get better. So the Mets' everyday lineup should look something like Alvarez at catcher when he's back from his head injury, whatever it was. Alonso at first, Beatty or Mauricio or McNeil at second, Lindor at short, Beatty and Mauricio at third, Nimmo in left, Mullins in center, and Soto in right. That alone sounds, on paper, like a championship team, right? Now let's go into this offense. This atrocious, brutal, terrible offense. I've written down the stats from the last 20 games of the failing four. Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. I got this from Twitter. I think it was the Sleeper Mets account. But Nimmo, in the last 20 games, 19 for 76, 250 batting average, 1 home run, 8 RBIs, a 348 on-base percentage, and a 704 OPS. That's just not good. And Nimmo is doing the best out of all of them. He's hitting 250. Wait until you hear everyone else's stats. Let's go to Lindor. Lindor is 17 for 87, a 184 batting average, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, a 228 on-base percentage, and a 550 OPS. For your former leadoff guys combined for like almost a 6 on-base percentage. Like when your top 2 guys are only getting on base 6 out of 10 times, that's just not a winning. It's not a winning way. It's not a winning way. Like Nimmo and Lindor have to get on base. They have to hit. Soto, in his last 20 games, is 12 for 71, a 169 batting average, 4 home runs, 13 RBIs, a 306 on-base percentage, and a 658 OPS. Where's Soto? Where's Mr. On Base? Where's Mr. Perfect Strike Zone? Where's Mr. Walks all the time and then gets a lot of hits? I don't see him. Certainly not the guy we paid all this money for. You know, all year I could say he's been fine. He's been good. But his whole game is getting on base. And he's still getting on base. But Nimmo's been getting on base more than him lately. And I understand Nimmo's a leadoff hitter, and that's great. But Soto's got to perform. And so is Alonso. Alonso's been the worst. Alonso's been terrible. Alonso's been borderline unplayable. He's 8 for 70. He has a 114 batting average. 114. 114. Think of that number in your head and just try to throw up because that's disgusting. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, a 207 on-base percentage, and a 464 OPS. I'm slamming my notebook down here because those guys are the heart, the soul, and the motor of this team. And if they don't go, the Mets don't go. We've gotten by in San Francisco, and who's the other team we swept? The Angels? No, the Cardinals. No, the Reds. No, the Angels. Angels, yeah. We got by with the Angels and the Giants because the younger guys hit. Alvarez came up clutch. Mauricio came up clutch. Vientos came up clutch. But those top 4 guys are killing us right now. They're killing us. And it's getting to a point where it's concerning. And I hope it's not who they are. I don't think it's who they are. Because they're all great players. I mean, Lindor and Soto alone are in Hall of Fame tracks. I think Pete isn't too far off. I don't want to say he's there yet. But if he ends his career with 400, maybe 500 home runs, he's going to be considered for it. And, like, Nimmo's your veteran guy who's been on the team since 2016. He's, like, the guy. He's the Met. He's homegrown, and he's got to perform. He's got to perform. All 4 of these guys, they're just killing us right now. They're just completely killing it. And you're not going to win games. You're not going to win playoff games if these 4 guys, your big 4, the Fab 4 that you pay all this money for, do not hit. And they are not hitting right now. I understand it's still a little bit early. It's August 2nd. But sooner or later, something's got to happen. Something's got to give. It's got to turn on. Like, the Mets didn't need to add another bat if our lineup can just do what it's supposed to be doing. If Nimmo, Lindor, Soto, and Alonso are firing all cylinders, you could have had Tyrone Taylor in center field and strike out all the time. It wouldn't have mattered. You could have started to have him bunt all the time. Do something. It would have been fine. But everyone's saying we need a bat, we need a bat, we need a bat. We don't need a bat. We shouldn't have needed a bat. We have 4 bats that should be through this lineup, that should be performing for this lineup, and they're not. They're not. I don't think Cedric Mullins is a difference maker, but the thing is, we already had the difference makers. The difference makers are already on this team. The difference makers are Alonso, Soto, Lindor, and Nimmo. And they are not making a difference. It's just so frustrating. It just really is frustrating to see all these guys struggling all at the same time. Like, if Alonso's doing great and can carry them, whatever. If Soto's doing great and can carry them, whatever. Lindor, Nimmo, same thing. But they're all just slumping right now. And there was no bat on the market that was going to change that. I mean, we don't need Suarez. We didn't need Suarez. We've already got a clusterfuck of infielders. And, like, Robert, he's unreliable. And Mullins is not a difference maker either, to be honest. I mean, he's better than Tarvin Taylor, but he can be a difference maker, 100%. But the difference makers are on this team already. We didn't need to add a bat if we didn't need to add a bat if the top four guys can do or would be doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that's the bottom line. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I can sit here and keep saying that, but it's true. Like, until these guys wake up, the Mets are not going to have success. We're going to be stuck in this rut for God knows how long. And, you know, maybe tomorrow they break out. Maybe tonight they break out. Maybe the next day they break out. Or maybe they never break out. And if they never break out, then the season is a wash. And it's just a waste. It gets everyone's hopes up again. Another heartbreaking year. Now, I'm not pressing the panic button yet, but I'm starting to look at it. I think Eric Chavez had to been fired in May. I think he's just terrible. I could say, like, you can say what you want about the hitting coaches and how much of impact they do or do not have, but you have to figure he has something to do with it. Lindor looks like he can't catch up to a fastball. When have you known Francisco Lindor to not be able to catch up to a 92-mile-per-hour fastball? Like, come on. Alonso is looking like his old self. He's looking like his 2023 self when you throw him a slider in the dirt away, and he would swing at it and look like a dumbass up at the plate. It's so bad. Nimmo just looks lost. And, like, Soto, he's been coming up clutch. I'm not going to say he hasn't. He hit the home run in San Francisco. He had the hit off the pitcher's foot or the mound last night that tied it or got us within a run. But other than that, like, he's been slumping with the rest of them, and it's getting to the point where it's just so frustrating and so hard to watch, and this offense has to wake up. Well, that's going to be all for the first episode. I hope whoever decides to listen, all 10 of you, maybe, hopefully, that decided to listen, enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you disagree, what you agree on, what you think should be better, what you think they could do. I don't know how many of these I'm going to do. Let's see how this one goes. But I appreciate whoever's tuning in. Like, thank you genuinely, because I never thought that I would ever be able to do something like this, even remotely. And it's really exciting. I love doing this. I love talking about the Mets. So, at MetsShitPosting on Instagram, DMs always open, comments are always open. Very much open to anything Mets. So, thank you for listening, and let's go Mets.